Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'm going to be getting into the Packers offensive line. I'm going to sort of take a look at how we've been and performed the past few seasons and sort of the changes we have made this season and where I think the Packers line will be in this coming season and into the future with some of our new draft picks that we have on this team. But if you guys are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Luke Beller. I'm a huge Packers fan, as you can tell from my we got some Favre stuff, all this stuff back here, but I also post about the Packers, other NFL stories, those kind of things. So if you're into that kind of thing, feel free to subscribe to this channel down below. So if you take a look at this Packers offensive line, last season they were very good. They were one of the top offensive lines in the entire NFL. And if you look at their stats, they were ranked 5th in adjusted line yards, which basically looks at sort of how many yards and the running backs average per carry behind this offensive line. They ranked 5th out of all 32 teams with about 4.47 yards per carry for that stat. So obviously last year we had one of the most elite offensive lines, and there's a few reasons for that. One of those being that we have David Bakhtiari, one of the best pass blocking tackles in the game. Last year he ranked number 1 if you look at the pass block win rate that ESPN measures. And Corey Linsley was also first among centers with pass block win rate. So just the fact that we have center Corey Linsley, who led that category, left tackle David Bakhtiari, who led that category. Obviously the Packers line is going to be successful and have a very good season. Also that we have Bryan Bulaga, one of the best tackles in the game. Obviously he helped as well. And last season the Packers drafted in the second round Elgton Jenkins. He was a second-round pick, and he performed well last season. He didn't allow any sacks in his entire time on the field. He only allowed 1 QB pressure, I believe. So obviously, he's going to be an impact player for the years to come. He's a very young guy, a very talented guy at that left guard position. So if we look at the guys that we have on this team, the likely starters are going to be David Bakhtiari at left tackle, obviously. Then Elgton Jenkins, the guy I just talked about, second-round draft pick last year. He's going to be starting at left guard. Then we have center Corey Linsley, one of the best pass blocking centers in the game. So then at right guard, we have Billy Turner. He was signed last year to a pretty massive deal by the Packers, a 4-year, $28 million contract. He didn't perform very well at all last season. When you look at his stats among other guys, he was more average among guards in the NFL. And lots of people believe that if he doesn't perform well this season, it's possible the Packers could let him go because after this season, he won't be that much of a dead cap hit for the Packers. This year, it wouldn't make sense to cut him. But if he doesn't perform well this season, it could make sense to cut him, and the Packers could move on from him if he doesn't sort of improve. And then when we look at this right tackle position, obviously we had Bryan Bulaga go to the Chargers. The Packers just probably couldn't afford to pay him considering he is so talented. So the Packers brought in Rick Wagner to replace Bryan Bulaga. For those of you guys who don't know, he's been in the league for a while. He was actually drafted in the same year as David Bakhtiari. He started with the Ravens, and then from like 2014 to 2016, he pretty much started every game for the Ravens. And after that year, he ended up signing a bigger contract with the Detroit Lions, where he played 2017, 2018, and 2019 of last year. But last year, he got a knee injury after about 12 games, I believe, and he didn't perform very well last season. But in the past, he's obviously a veteran. I guess this will be his 7th or 8th or 9th year, something like that. So I think that he could be a good player for this Packers offensive line. Matt LaFleur has said that it is not guaranteed that he's going to start, so he's going to have to prove it and show that he can play. And if he doesn't start, I think that the guy who might come in to take his spot could be Lane Taylor. The Packers have had him for a little while now. He mostly plays guard, but he does have some experience at the tackle position, so he could be a guy to come in if Rick Wagner isn't really ready to play this season, if he doesn't sort of show the Packers what they need to see to have him start on this offensive line. So overall, when we look at this offensive line, I think that we will continue to be one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. I'm not sure if we'll be as good as last year considering we lost Bryan Bulaga, but the fact that Elgton Jenkins will probably continue to improve on this offensive line and that we still have Corey Linsley and David Bakhtiari, I think that we still could have a great offensive line this season. And then one thing I wanted to look at is one of the areas where the Packers were not successful last year when it came to run blocking. I guess it sort of has to do partly with run blocking, partly with the running back situation. But we ranked like 27th when it came down to like 3rd and short, 4th and short, and like 2 yards to go on the goal line, those kinds of things. We ranked 27th. So obviously the Packers need to improve in that area. And I think the way that we are going to improve is by the Packers drafting A.J. Dillon in the 2nd round. I think that he can solve that problem. He's a massive big guy. He has lots of power. He's very explosive. And so I think that with him in the backfield, he could be the guy to convert those short yardage situations, which the Packers did not have last year. So hopefully with that addition to the Packers offense, he can really help improve that area just of this Packers offense and of this team in general. And if we look to the future for this Packers offensive line, there are going to be lots of changes in this next year because lots of guys are coming up on their contracts ending. And I think that's one reason that the Packers drafted 3 offensive linemen in this year's draft. So we have David Bakhtiari, he's going to be, his contract's going in after this season. We have Corey Linsley, his contract's going in after this season. And so I think that it'll be the Packers' priority to sign David Bakhtiari. I believe that's my opinion. Maybe not. He's going to probably get a very, very massive contract, probably one of the most of offensive linemen in the NFL. And so I don't know if it's possible for the Packers to keep Linsley and Bakhtiari because they'll have to pay both of them. So personally, I believe right now that the Packers will keep Bakhtiari. And if you sort of look at the Packers draft, there's another reason why I think that it might not be Linsley, because the Packers added 3 offensive linemen in the 6th round of this NFL draft. The first guy they added was John Runyon out of Michigan State. He's a tackle, but the Packers are likely, they sort of announced him as a guard, so he could come in and be the backup to Elton Jenkins. And Billy Turner, he could be their backup, and maybe in the coming years he could move up to the starting position maybe after this season in the coming seasons. And the Packers also drafted in that same round center out of Oregon, Jake Hansen. He only allowed 2 sacks in all 4 seasons at his time at Oregon. So that's sort of the reason that I think the Packers could let Corey Linsley go. Maybe Jake Hansen could be his replacement if he can sort of show the organization that he sort of has what it takes to be the Packers starting center, which I think it could be possible. And then the third guy the Packers drafted on the offensive line in this draft was Indiana guard Simon Stefaniak. The thing with him is he got an injury in December. He tore his ACL preparing for a bowl game, so he's probably not going to play this season at all, but he could be a guy coming up in the future. And one similarity, if you look at all 3 of these guys, is that all of them played all 4 years in college. They were all redshirted in 2015 and then played 4 seasons after that. So they all have lots of experience which they can bring to this Packers team. And while it's likely that not all 3 guys will be great players in the NFL, it could be possible, and maybe even 1 or 2 of these guys could be great players on the Packers in the upcoming years. I think the Packers have added a lot of great depth to this offensive line so that they are prepared for the future to sort of replace some guys. And if some guys this season, especially on the right side of the offensive line, don't perform well, they have some other guys who, if they can step up, can sort of come in and fill these holes for this Packers offense. That's basically going to be all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys got some value from this. Feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. And if you got any value from this video, feel free to like it down below. That's going to be all for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys on the next one.